Call the Oglesby City Council meeting to order.
Augubright.
Here.
Cullinan. Curran.
Here.
Yasi.
Here.
Rivera.
Here. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion and second to approve the minutes of the September 21st, 2020 regular meeting.
I make a motion to approve minutes from the September 21st, 2020 regular meeting.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Yasi.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Public comments on agenda items only. Having done, we'll move on. Approve bills as presented for payment.
I'll make a motion to approve bills as presented for payment.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Yasi.
Abstain.
Rivera.
Aye. Approve ordinance 1130-100520, an ordinance amending chapter 10.24, stopping, standing, and parking of Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic of the Oglesby City Code.
So I believe this is just a continuation of what we had last week with the extending the distance of where you can park on Walnut Street and the time to 3 hours. The one about the streets, the one-way parking will be coming in a future ordinance. If there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve 1130-100520, an ordinance amending Chapter 10.24, stopping, standing, and parking of Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic of the Oglesby City Code.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Yasi.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
Jason, one thing on that ordinance, I think it kind of goes without saying, got to make sure that we post signs or, either post signs or paint something, well, I guess since
Post
it's
signs,
3 hours,
yeah.
yeah, you got to
Yeah,
post signs.
we've started ordering the signs,
Okay.
because I know there's, for the next one, we're probably gonna order a lot of signs for the other
Okay.
stuff as well, so, yep.
Number 8, approve 1131-100520, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an agreement for the purchase of electricity from the city of Oglesby by GTI LLC.
So this agenda item is a little mislabeled, and that's kind of my fault. So we found out last week that we were not going to be able to approve the ordinance that we placed on file last week. I could probably go into a little bit of detail if people really want to know.
If you want to, I can hit the high, I mean, we've got the, the stuff from.
It's
the
very
IPA.
detailed. I'm worried you're going to. If you'd like to go ahead, sure.
Basically, we went over the agreement from last week, and when we went over the agreement at the working meeting last week, there were a couple things that were not in the agreement that the IMEA said had to be in the agreement. Number one, and I didn't realize this, those special incentive rates, whether B7 or B6, only apply after the customer uses their first 200 kilowatts of demand. And that wasn't in there. And I sent, the agreement that I had drafted to the IMEA, and I said, give us your comments. And one of the things they talked to me about late last week is you got to have that in there. Otherwise, that would cost, if the city offered the B1 rates or B6 rates from the first kilowatt of electricity, that'd be potentially big revenue loss for the city, which was not the intention. So they have edited the agreement to make it clear that the first 200 kilowatts get billed at the standard rates. Second thing they wanted changed was they wanted language to reflect the fact that the IMEA has to approve the B7 or B6 rate before December 31st of this year. And I think what they're waiting for is that we have an agreement in place with GTI. But technically, they have to approve it or we can't give it. So this change came in literally at 5 to 5 tonight. But they did change that part of the agreement. The other parts of the agreement on the rates, they changed it to reflect the fact that the first 200 kilowatts are billed at a standard rate. And they also clarified a little bit what GTI has to do to get the incentive rate. They changed my language around. Because the customer has to meet the qualifications for the B7 rate by June 1st, 2020, or they'll be charged the B6 rate beginning June 1st, 2020, until they qualify for the B7 rate. And the other thing that I didn't have in there is if the customer does not meet the qualifications for the B7 rate within the first 12 months after June 1st, 2021, then they're stuck with the B6 rate for the rest of the agreement, which is five years, 60 months. So they have made those changes, and those changes are in the documents that I asked Amy to hand out to you tonight. Now, my thought last week was that we would substitute this agreement for the agreement that's attached to the ordinance that we were gonna approve tonight. Then we couldn't approve it, because it has to be in the form approved, but to then put it on file and have a special, either pass it in 2 weeks or have a special meeting next week to pass it. We can't do that, because I didn't get this till too late to be able to do that. So what Commissioner Kern and I talked about today is that GTI was worried that if we don't order the equipment that we're gonna need to install to meet their load demand, they won't be able, when they get up and going, to meet the requirements for the B7 rate. So we were scratching our heads today as to how we would try to address this. I have drafted an interim agreement, which I would indicate should be attached to the ordinance we have here in substitute for this agreement, but we can't approve anything. It has to be placed on, the interim agreement has to be placed on file. The interim agreement simply says that GTI is agreeing to reimburse the city for the anticipated cost of its phase 3, isn't it, Jason?
Correct.
Okay, for the cost of phase 3, which is about $237,000. We want to make sure, and Jason has talked to GTI, and they have actually signed the agreement.
Correct. They have an assigned version of
Okay.
it, of the interim agreement.
We can't approve it. We have to have it on file for a week before we approve it. But they have signed it saying they're okay with it. And the reason for this is they want us to order those transformers, which would then have the city on the hook. But they are also gonna deliver a check to the city for that amount. So what we're looking to do is to put the interim agreement in place of the agreement that's attached to this ordinance. And we're not going to adopt this ordinance tonight because we can't. We're gonna just put this ordinance on file, and then we'll either adopt it in 2 weeks or in a special meeting next week. Just wait, not to make this any more confusing. I don't know how quick everybody's, when I say everybody, GTI, the IMEA, is gonna want the final agreement, the red line document that I handed out tonight. I don't know how quick they're gonna wanna receive that.
Well, so,
I was gonna say, if they want that, we may either have to call a special meeting this week to do that, and a special meeting next week. Or, simply a special meeting next week.
When's the IMEA's monthly meeting? Is it this month still, or?
No, it'll meet before December to make, to pass the B6 and B7 rates.
So, to give a little bit of clarity to this, I kind of foresee this problem was gonna, a couple weeks ago when I was starting to realize how complicated everything was. So a couple weeks ago, I offered them 3 options that we could do. Option 1 was to try to get the entire agreement together like we put on file last week. Option 2 was if they wanted to pay us ahead of time for the phase 3 so we can get the ball rolling, and then option 3 was something completely different. So they wanted option 1. So we rushed it, we tried to get it done, and I'll be honest, we kind of asked Jim to do almost an impossible task. We really did. He had to put something together that was, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of provisions, a lot of rules, a lot of regulations. It's a lot of money, and asked to get it done within 24 hours. And so when he did that, I know he already went through the specifics, but just so you know, so what happened was the IMEA's, their attorney, their specialist that deals with this, foresaw some holes in our agreement that could hurt us. One of the other small ones was like the Ameren costs, for example.
Yeah, that
I-
must be in here somewhere.
I know, I thought our agreement was pretty good to cover that, but the way he explained, he says, well, there's a couple legal things that could happen that your agreement wouldn't necessarily cover for. So we thought about it, and we're like, well, we have to get it done. But the problem is, the longer we wait, we're pushing up against their ability for them to get online in time. And I didn't want to approve the purchase of the transformers if I don't have an agreement of how I'm gonna recalculate that cost. So we kind of knew this on Friday, and that's why the ordinance is supposed to say something slightly or not the ordinance, the agenda is supposed to say something slightly different here. Because we went to that option 2, to where we came up with, I drafted something up, it's actually kind of funny what you see here. My non-legal skills came up with a double-spaced 1-page agreement, and the attorney touches it, and it's a single-spaced 2-page agreement.
You get paid by the word.
Yeah, he does, good job. So we have it together, I got it over to GTI mid-afternoon, they looked at it and they said, let me get a quick eyes on this with their attorney. They looked at it, they said, yeah, that sounds great, that's wonderful. They signed it, so the version we have is signed from them, or I can place that on file tonight, and then tomorrow, they couldn't do it today, because oddly enough, it's a company holiday today. I didn't know that, but I guess there's apparently a weed thing that happened in 1937 on this day. Anyways,
Prohibition?
I don't know what it was, but it's a company holiday. So tomorrow, he's coming through the area, and he will deliver a check of $237,000, $274. So my next motion after this one is, I want to purchase those transformers on the contingency that the check arrives tomorrow. So that way we should be covered. What this essentially does is, this gives us a little bit more breathing room to get the main agreement completed and done, because I feel like we've kind of been up against the wall trying to get this done and rushing it through. So this gives us a few more days, even of a week if we need to. Does that make sense to everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Well, what it does, it gives us the ability to get everything in place so they can meet the demand to get the rate.
Correct. All right, I'd like to,
Was it the same ordinance number then?
No, you're gonna have to give it a new.
we'll just call it an agreement. I'd like to make a motion to place on file the interim agreement. You want me to give it a, was it
You can-
1134?
It should be 11:34, but it's gonna, the second half, that number's gonna depend, normally we put that number as the date you're gonna pass it,
Yeah.
approve it.
So
Which
what would be?
I don't know if we're gonna call a special meeting or not, but otherwise that'd be 2 weeks from tonight.
We'll just put it down as an agreement.
Pardon?
I'll just say agreement. I'd like to make a motion to place on file the interim agreement between City of Oglesby and GTI Oglesby LLC.
I'll second.
Augubright,
Aye.
Cullinan, Curran,
Aye.
Mieski,
Aye.
Rivera,
Aye. Okay, we gotta approve the purchase of 2 transformers for the GTI expansion of Phase 3.
So this doesn't change anything. We placed it on file already. The only thing I'll add different to the motion here is that it's contingent upon us receiving the check tomorrow for, let me write it down so I don't mess it up, $274. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 2 transformers for the GTI expansion of Phase 3, contingent upon us receiving the check for $237,274 tomorrow.
I'll second.
Augubright,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
Miyake?
Aye.
Rivera?
Aye. Place on file 1132-101920, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a settlement agreement and mutual release between the City of Oglesby and Officer Hugo Gonzalez.
Well, it appears that Officer Gonzalez thought that he was being paid incorrectly for over a period of time. Because it was a little bit of time, we did engage an outside auditor to backtrack to see what was truly owed to Officer Gonzalez, and we have that, I don't have that number
I've got it.
right in front of me.
6,000 something, hang on.
I got it, $6,000 some dollars.
Here it is. The account's calculation, $6,471.24.
Right. Thank you. So that was what was identified that we owe Officer Gonzalez, and so I would like to release that check to him. So that, if there are any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'd like to make a motion to place on file 1132-101920, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a settlement agreement and mutual release between the City of Oglesby and Officer Hugo Gonzalez.
Second.
Augubright?
Aye.
Cullinan?
Aye.
Curran?
Aye.
Miyake?
Aye.
Rivera?
Aye. Place on file 1133-101920, an ordinance approving the termination of the Oglesby Tax Increment Financing, TIF, District 5 Redevelopment Project Area Plan and Projects.
I didn't ask Herb about this. Herb Klein is our TIF attorney and TIF consultant. But it's my understanding that TIF 5 is super value, and that that's the only thing in TIF 5, correct, is
Yes.
super value. And that the 23-year life of the TIF has expired, and that we're now terminating the TIF. Is this contiguous, Tom, to any of the other TIFs?
Yes,
or
it is.
It
TIF
is.
6.
Okay, if it is contiguous, then the money would be transferred to the other TIF. But we do need to place on, to approve the ordinance terminating the TIF.
All right. I'll make a motion to place on file 1133-101920, an ordinance approving the termination of the Oglesby Tax Increment Financing District 5 Redevelopment Project Area Plan and Projects.
Second.
Augubright?
Aye.
Cullinan? Curran?
Aye.
Miyake?
Aye.
Rivera?
Aye. Discussion in regards to ordinance 6.08.080, number of cats and dogs allowed. Has everybody got a copy of the ordinance?
Yes.
Basically, the ordinance was adopted in 1992, which means that residents can have only 3 animals, 2 dogs and a cat, 3 cats, 3 dogs, but they can't have any more than that. We've had a resident request that the number of cats be waived. The Oglesby Police have been working with her on this matter. The lady has spent thousands of dollars on these cats. She requested that her residents be okayed as a shelter for cats. And she submitted this letter to me. Because a female cat can have more than 1 litter per year, and anywhere from 6 to 7 kittens per litter. Changing the ordinance would allow households to care for a larger number of kittens. Safe houses and IVAR house over 300 animals, allowing me and other families a little more leeway would take the overwhelming strain off those organizations. I called the veterinarian hospital the other day. They told me that safe houses are turning people away because of their large numbers. They are always asking for donations and are having a difficult time making ends meet. My numbers are not nearly as high as theirs, and regarding the health issue, they would have them with those large numbers. I need your help to keep my pets. I did not know that there was an ordinance. I have been helping to keep the cat population down by spraying and neutering them and paying the bills out of my own pocket for nearly 40 years. My veterinarian bills for the last 7 years have been hovering around $18,000. I was more than willing to pay. I have very young kittens and older ones that I have taken care of. 16, 17 years. They are my family. The bond that I have for each and every one of them is extremely strong. Making me have to part with them would be very cruel on your part. I have a bachelor's degree in education and taught school for nearly 36 years. Taking care of the homeless kittens started because every spring they would appear in my yard because nobody else seemed to care. Please see the situation from my end. I need your support. There has to be some way around this regarding the ordinance. I am a lifelong resident of Oglesby. I have lived in this neighborhood for 60 years. Please work with me and not against me. Having to leave this neighborhood and relocate would break my heart. Please allow me to keep my pets. I have. It would mean so much to me. I could not bear being without them. Please do not rush to judgment. There has to be around this. Only you can assist me. Maybe I could be granted some type of permit because of the growing number of cats and kittens. Maybe Oglesby could start some type of program. Maybe you could have 4 or 5 homes, forever homes. I am sure I am not the only one in town with this strong passion. I dearly love each and every one of my pets. They get the best food and the best veterinarian care. I am sure that some of you have pets. I think of the strong bond that you have with them. We share that same strong bond. Please allow me to keep and take care of the pets I have.
So how many cats are we talking about here? That wasn't in the letter.
16 to 18.
And they're still having litters?
I believe the ones that she has them neutered and spaded.
Okay.
But she talked about having kittens and having large numbers, and actually that's addressed in C, that within, you can house a litter of pups or a litter of kittens, or any portion of that for a period up to 5 months from birth. So, I mean, there is that way around it. However, she's comparing herself to maybe Ivar and some other places. Nobody actually lives in those places. They house the animals. She's living in a place that houses the animals. And that goes back to the very beginning of the ordinance, that not only does it distract from, in many instances, is detrimental to the health care and comfortable lifestyle for people. So,
Those Ivar houses you're talking about I assume those are the safe houses she's referring to. Do you know if those are in zoned residential areas?
I do not.
No.
Okay. Oh, they're
I
not?
think they're industrial.
Ah, okay.
As Mayor Rivera was reading the letter, you might have saw me, I was on my phone, I was
Mhm.
checking the land development code. And I think, you know, with that many cats, I think an argument could be made that that's a kennel. And if that's a
Definitely.
kennel, that's not permitted in a I'm assuming this is a residential zoning
Yes.
district.
It is.
So you really have two issues. You have the issue of, do you want to change your ordinance to allow more animals in a residential district? But you got the second issue that, you know, just, and it was a quick glance on my phone, so I don't have the full code, we could get it from the clerk's office. I don't, you know, I don't think that, if it's residential, I don't think that's proper zoning. I think that many animals would certainly, I think if a court had to decide what is a kennel, and I didn't scroll down far enough on my phone to find the definitions in the land development code, we may have a definition of kennel in there. But, you know, I think a reasonable argument can be made that's a kennel. So even if you increase the number of cats, you still could have a zoning question as to whether, you know, she can do this in a residential zoning district. Kind of, in my mind, they're two separate questions.
And I'd be open to maybe a few more, but going from 3 to 15 is kind of a jump, I would say.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, she says that she wasn't aware of the ordinance. I didn't know there was an ordinance either. I mean, but there is an ordinance. I guess I'm curious, when this was created, is it based on some kind of county health requirement that or some kind of recommendation of why we have this ordinance in the first place, that 3 should be the number? Is that?
I think
Or-
it goes to the whole kennel thing again, though. That's
I'm just
probably
wondering,
why.
is this even something that's in our authority to change? Or is this because it's a health required thing,
I think from
that's
the
why we have
standpoint
it?
of changing it, if you said we want to have 4 or 5, I think you can do that. What I can't tell you, and maybe I can find it in the definitions part of the Oglesby zoning ordinance, you know, do we define a kennel? Because I think at some point in time, I can't tell you whether that's 3, 4, 5, 7, or what that number is, but I think at some point in time, it certainly is gonna look like it's a kennel.
So this lady called me today, actually in the afternoon, literally begging, and I'm trying to tell her that our agenda doesn't have any action on there, it's just a discussion. One thing that she made to my attention that I was not aware of before, because I didn't know who it was that she actually owns 2 homes. So technically, she could have a total of 6 cats, 3 between each home without violating any kind of thing. So, I mean, that's still 6.
Yeah, we're 15
I know.
is the number, so
You know, I'll give
it's crazy.
it's a, you know, people, you can just walk away from it, and I guess the purpose of, is there a solution out there someplace for these cats?
Well, so I don't know a lot of details, but she says she has kittens and old cats as well. And I guess she said she was trying to go to the safe houses and they won't take anymore.
I find that hard to believe, though.
Well, I mean,
Because one of the tenants told me about how they do this all the time. It's not in Oglesby, but in other areas, they'll go in a house and find 20 cats, and then they'll have to find fosters for all 20 of them because they can't put them all in Ivar, they can't put them all everywhere, but they usually find spots for all of them.
I'd be more willing to help with it if she's being honest and she wasn't aware that there's an ordinance for it and she's in violation. I'd be more willing to not say that it's okay to keep the cats, but to give a time period that she's got to get rid of 2, another 2, another 2, until she gets down to the required 3 per house that's required.
That could take years, though.
Would it? I mean, you got kittens.
If they're reproducing 7 a litter, and they can do
No.
it twice a year.
She's saying that she's spaying them. I don't know what else to do. I don't want to
She's
break.
saying she's spaying them, and then she's saying the cats are
Yeah, that's true
having
too.
litters.
I get it. I know. This conversation went longer than I wanted it to have too, so.
I don't know how safe the home truly is with 16, 17 cats. And
Mhm.
I don't know if there were an inspection by, what is the authority for the animal control, or not animal control, but yeah.
What I essentially told her on the
It's
phone
South
is,
County Animal Control. control.
What I essentially told her on the phone is, I'm all about making a resident happy if there's things that we can do. But we can't violate and break laws in the effort to try to make somebody happy. So I don't want to make an old woman sad to take away her animals or something like that. But, I mean, if she's violating the law, I'm not sure what else to do besides maybe the city helping out, putting something on the Facebook going, hey, does anybody want some kittens? And then take the kittens away and go from there. I don't know what the numbers are of what she has or anything,
yeah.
but
By the way, when you guys were talking, I couldn't find a definition. It was pretty quick, cursory, scroll on my phone. I couldn't find a definition of kennel. But like I said, if the way courts would look at that, if it isn't defined in the ordinance, they're gonna give it its common, ordinary, dictionary meaning. And that's why I'm saying I don't know whether 3 is the limit, but at some point, and I would think that number is less than 15, 16, 17, or 18, court's gonna say, no, that's a kennel.
I don't know what our communities are allowing, but I do know that there are limits set by LaSalle and Peru as well. We might maybe reach out to them to see where they got that information on how they determined 3 is the number, 4 is a number, 2 is a number, whatever that number is.
Chief?
Mayor, I was just gonna say, part of the urgency as our enforcement on this is that neighbors all around them are smelling like an ammonia smell terribly. And when the officers went there, the officers couldn't breathe at the neighbor's house. So it's that bad, it's coming through the neighbor's windows.
Well, you're correct. And basically, what we're trying to do is find a solution to this dilemma, and clean it up.
Well, I think the other thing that may have to be pointed out to her, and I've mentioned this before in meetings, the Illinois Municipal Code, or zoning, I should say, is one of the few provisions in the Illinois Municipal Code that give an affected property owner a private cause of action to enforce a city ordinance. If I'm not supposed to park my car somewhere in the city of Oglesby, and I continue to park my car there, and for whatever reason, the police don't give me a ticket, the neighbor can't give me a ticket. Only the police can give me a ticket. With zoning, if the city of Oglesby is notified of a zoning violation, and if the city of Oglesby fails to take action to correct the zoning violation, then property owners who have standing, which would probably broadly be defined as, you have to live close enough to be affected by it. You can't be on the other side of town. But property owners who have standing can file a lawsuit to enforce the zoning ordinance. And what becomes important for like this resident who has the cats is if they're successful, the court can order the violator to pay the attorney's fees of the plaintiffs, which, that depending upon how long it goes or what have you, could be some serious money. I just point that out.
And then they'd probably still
I
seize the
understand what you
cats
just
too,
said.
right?
Pardon?
They'd probably seize the cats then too when the court's proceedings were over?
I would imagine.
Okay. I think the city should call Ibar, or someone should get in contact with Ibar and see if there's anything we do.
Do you have Jim?
While you're talking, I looked up the city ordinances, and under 608-090, the term kennel is used in this chapter means any facility housing 4 or more dogs or cats. The areas where kennels are permitted, no kennel should be located closer than 100 feet to the boundary of the nearest adjacent residential lot. Kennels shall be allowed only in districts zoned D, E, and F under the city ordinance. The keeper of a kennel shall obtain a license from the city clerk to commence operation, pay an annual fee, and a license fee of $100.
So we're clear D, E, and F zoning districts were the zoning districts in the old Oglesby zoning ordinance. D was, if I recall, is commercial, E was light industrial, and F was heavy industrial, if I recall correctly. And our current land development code, kennels are, I think they were special uses in industrial districts and certain commercial districts, but this is a residential district, so it doesn't, I mean, I could look it back up, but, yeah, I think that answers the question. If it's zoned somewhere, it's a kennel. Or if it's defined, excuse me, it's a kennel.
You know, I want to respect a lady that has her cats and stuff like that, but the same thing, you have to respect you know, if there's a nuisance that's provided to the neighbors as well with this, you have to respect that as well. So I'm not sure what the compromise is here. The only thing I can think of is giving her a shorter, you know, a period of time that these cats have to be so much gone by period of time or something.
I think the city is willing to work with her, and if anybody out there has a suggestion, solution to our problem, her problem, contact us.
I do think we need to give her a definitive time, though. As you said, that could
I
take
agree.
years. I'm saying you have 30 days to find homes for these cats, except for 3, maybe.
We'll give her a reasonable amount of time that our attorney suggests.
Well, I think, I don't think there's anything wrong with the 30 days, and you can reevaluate it at that time. You know what I'm
See
saying?
how
You-
the
You know,
progress
if
is
you
making.
give 30 days and 1 cat is gone, you may not want to give, if you give 30 days and 8 cats out of, 18 are gone, and she needs more, you know what I'm saying, she needs more time, you may, I think you want to use a little bit of common sense in that regard. I probably would not suggest going out much further than 30 days, because if you go out 60 or 90, even though that may be what it takes, then if only 1's gone, now you've wasted 90 days. So I'd say 30, reevaluate it. If an effort's being made, you can always give her additional time. That seems,
I could
I don't know,
support
that seems to be a reasonable solution to me. That makes sense.
Sounds good to me.
So talk about this again in 30 days, and if the number is still 18, take a different action?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, we should notify her of that, whether we have the police, we should probably notify her in writing.
Yeah.
In addition to having the police tell her, give her something in writing, so there's no.
Both her houses, by the way, are less than like 100 yards apart. I think having 6 cats between 2 houses is more than enough cats, but you think it's too many?
Too many.
Well, she could argue that she's got 2 homes.
If
And
we
she
get down to
lives in
6,
both
we'll
of them?
debate this.
I know
How
that
about
both homes
that?
are I don't know the details.
Oh, man. That's 12 cats.
We don't
Again,
have
think of
any
those
old
neighbors
business.
with the smell.
Go to public comments. Having none, we'll go to commissioner reports.
I have nothing to report tonight.
Let's see, the ambulance had 71 calls last month, and nearly half, or 33 of them, were transfers, so it was a little bit slower month for them. The fire department also was a slower month. They had 10 calls. Within the police department, we were a little more busier. We had 5 citations, 47 non-citations that were given out. If anybody has been out on Facebook lately, they updated the website, which was truly outdated, and updated the whole Facebook. It has a different look, looks much more professional. I can tell you that recently Shelby, our newest officer, attended training certifying her as a master social media officer. Who knew there was a thing? So anyway, she's done a magnificent job of revamping that whole Facebook page, so please check it out. You're also able to go on Facebook to file a complaint. You can find forms there. So if it's midnight and you really didn't want to call the police, at that time you can go ahead and online and fill out your complaints there. We do have Shelby leaving for Police Training Institute October 11th, so keep your fingers crossed that happens. There are now 8 of the 12 part-time officers have been sworn in, they're trained, they're uniformed, and they're all ready to go. As of September 30th, all officers qualified with their duty and off-duty weapons, which is a great thing. And for Officer of the Month, we have Sergeant Brett Valley, so congratulations to his hard work.
All right, the only thing
Jason?
thank you. The only thing I have here, two things. I said it last week, but it was a working meeting, just to remind people that leaf vac will be from 19 October to the 20th of November. So again, please, as it gets colder and the leaves start falling, if you don't have a reason to burn them, please don't. We will be around and we will get them picked up. The other thing is, some people might have noticed a drop in pressure today. We have the pressure washing has started on the tower. So there's a pressure tank that's outside there. There was someone that was filling up the tanker again, which caused the pressure drop. We've stopped that. He will no longer be doing filling up the tanker while we're on the individual pressure tank. And we should get our tower all beautified and painted, and everything looks great. That's all I got.
Cully?
Nothing tonight.
I just got a couple things. The city will have trick or treat on October 31st. We're still working on the details. In the afternoon, from 2 to 4, the city, the library, the Dickinson House, Union Church, Fire and Ambulance are working to have some kind of a drive-through to help make the holiday a little bit more festive. Trick-or-treating, will be 5 to 7. Residents must have lights on, wear a mask, and adhere to social distancing in and out exit plan. We'll come out with and trick-or-treaters must wear masks, adhere to social distancing, limit the number to 6 in a group, and in and out. And this is kind of a rough way how we're going. We'll have a more formalized on the website in about a week or so. That's all I have. I need a motion to go into closed session. 5 ILCS 120 in parentheses C, parentheses 8, security procedures, school building safety and security, and the use of personal and equipment to respond to actual, a threatened, or a reasonable potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Albright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Maskey.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Yeah, we're trying to get something together. We had somebody post that we weren't gonna have trick or treating. And we were trying to get the afternoon activities so we could do it all at
But nothing
once.
in there. That's what I thought. I mean, it's not zoned,
Yes.
for a camp. I mean, you can't apply for a special use permit at that
Yes.
location.
Pardon? I tell you, Jim, I thought, this was, you might think, well, why the hell would you even bring it up?
Yes.
That's got 16 cats. It's gotta be. Ugh.
I know she used to let them run around too. There's a lot of them in the dark, no matter what. She's not telling you everything. No, you don't want to, you know, that too, that's a residential area. I mean, you got people, I wouldn't want them next to my house.
I believe that's what he said. I'll tell you what, I'll ask the mayor, and if it's different, I'll call you.
street next to it, that's yours.
There is three with, like, one, I think it's,
What?
I think it's Dennis from 200.
Oh, that is the,
And then the one, I think it's just Dennis from Mexico. I don't know about the other guy, where's Dennis from? He's on his name.
I worked with a lot of, not too few. I call that one, the gal from Manila. Personally, I think he's trouble.
Yeah.
That guy there was trouble too. I used to like him, but I wouldn't give him. He's an obstructionist.
Yeah, but they're foreign. They don't pick up our voices.
Huh?
They pick up our voices.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care, I'm straight ahead.
I know, but. Yeah.
No, I ain't for this pussyfooting around it. I don't fit in this building. I
It's
don't.
different, isn't it?
I don't fit at all. I ain't got a computer or nothing now, I don't want it. I'm 83 years old. I could make 90, but I doubt it. With the way things are going, in 5 years, you ain't gonna recognize it.
I know. That's so true.
He lost it, he's got a bunch of headaches. Defund the police, that don't matter with you.
Yeah.
We're just trying to overthrow the government, is what we're doing.
And then they want social workers to ride with the police and stuff. I'd have to see them go to the first domestic call of the year.
Yeah, half that stuff I don't even hear.
Don't you?
I got another set of hearing aids, still like that.
Do you hear some of them more clear than others?
Yeah. Some voices are different.
Yeah. They carry better.
I have trouble with my wife's voice. She's starting to lose weight.
Is she?
I didn't run her through mid-Christmas.
How often is she going to the doctor now?
She don't go to the doctor.
No?
She says, I don't want none of them chemo treatments and none of that crap. And she's got that hospice coming in twice a week. She's a good lady. And they don't want me involved with two daughters of ours. Do what they want to do. She's got a drain on her stomach. She gets, fluid out of her stomach. Usually when the yellow comes down, she takes 2 liters of fluid out.
Wow.
to look into, it might be kind of a hard thing to figure. Remember how we talked about like when we hire employees or something?
Yeah.
There's a cost for, I think if they're like under the 1,000 hours or for contractors. I don't know how much. Is that everything altogether or just? So if somebody gets hurt, it's going to cost for that. So if I get somebody that's taking contract under that, then there's this.
And that's right now, but, and that's the buyout company, but it's gonna go up because rates are at 0 now.
So that problem is 30 to 35, prevailing wage is 30. Prevailing wage is 53. So if you take 35 and add that, it's 33%. Still under prevailing wage. Well, that's what I mean. I'm kind of curious if there's a calculator for that. Thank you.
What a motion and second to go back into, session?
I'll motion to go back into open session.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Kearns.
Aye.
Bianski. Aye. Nazaro.
Aye. Need a
Before
motion
you
to-
do a motion to adjourn, just one thing for everybody, FYI. If we get this agreement with GTI in a form where GTI wants to have it approved at the meeting on the 19th, which is 2 weeks from tonight, the Open Meetings Act says you're not supposed to schedule a meeting on a holiday unless the holiday falls on your regularly scheduled meeting. I think next week is Columbus Day. I'm just saying, FYI, if we set a special meeting, if we set a special meeting for next Monday to place it on file, I just want you to be aware of that. I mean, maybe something,
I don't think we take it as a holiday in Oglesby. City Hall's open.
We're open on Columbus.
no, I know that, but I think the Open Meetings Act says
Oh.
any state or federal holiday. Yeah, you know, like we meet on Martin Luther King Day. We may meet on, if Veterans Day falls on a Monday, we may meet, but
I thought they-
We can schedule a meeting
Tomorrow for Friday.
this week.
yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying, is if this thing gets that way, whether you wanna do something like, a brief meeting late Friday afternoon, I'm just FYI, you're either gonna have to do a special meeting potentially on Tuesday next week, which would be sort of a pain in the rear, because then you can't pass it at your regular meeting on Monday, you'll have to come back for another
We
special meeting
have-
on Tuesday.
In other words, if we have to get this done, we may have to meet Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, we're supposed to give 48 hours notice.
And Thursday
So-
means you'd have to have the agenda posted by tomorrow, and you just got the stuff today. And last time it took over 24. Although I'll admit, when I saw what came back, there wasn't as much red on it as I thought there was
Yeah.
gonna be.
I just, so everybody's just aware,
So-
I mean, whether we would wanna hold a meeting after work on Friday, I don't know what everybody's schedule is, I just FYI I just don't wanna, we've
But
had
if
so
we
many
put-
problems,
If we put it out tomorrow morning, we can do it on Thursday or not?
48 hours, so tomorrow morning, Wednesday,
Yeah.
Thursday, yeah, we could do it Thursday.
So we'll just put agenda out, and if we're not gonna get it done in time, we'll just cancel that.
We could do that. When-
Meeting.
You guys wanna just meet at 5:30, at 6, what'd you wanna?
You wanna do Thursday or Friday?
Thursday preferably.
My schedule is, what about you, Cully? Can-
I'm not going back till the 16th.
All right, well, as long as we have quorum.
Yeah, we don't need a supermajority. We
Yeah,
needed a
you don't just need
supermajority
a
for tonight.
majority, you got, once you
Yeah.
have a quorum.
Tonight's purchase, we needed a supermajority for, but we only need a majority for the other items.
So let's plan on Thursday.
I could do 5:30.
I can do 5:30.
I can as well. So in other words, we'll put the agenda together, set it, and if we somehow don't get an agreement together, we just cancel.
You're you're just gonna have one thing on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
place on file the
Please.
ordinance approving the GTI agreement.
Correct. And if we don't somehow have
Should
it,
be what-
and if we,
what you got.
and if we don't have it by then I guess we just
Just
cancel the
cancel it.
meeting. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Coleman. Kern.
Aye.
Miyake.
Aye.
Rivera.
Hi.
If it is for Thursday, it's ready to go. It's only gonna be a 5-minute meeting.